What is up guys, I hope everyone is doing well. In today's video we are going to take a look at MSI's X299 Gaming Pro Carbon AC motherboard. I definitely got it right. It's definitely a long name as well, but that aside, let's jump in and take a closer look at it. So priced at $349 in the US and £299 here in the UK, this makes the Carbon Pro the second most expensive board in MSI's X299 lineup. MSI's Pro Carbon motherboards have always been a favourite among system builders due to the minimalist styling and great feature set, so let's see how this one stacks up. First off, let's check what's included inside the box, as this is something you guys often complain that I don't do. Of course, at the top, as always, we have our motherboard, which I will put to one side for the minute. And when we lift the top tray off, you will find all of your accessories. First off, we have a black drawstring bag, and inside here you will find some RGB extension cables, a familiar I/O shield, and last of all, your antenna for Wi-Fi. So moving back to the box, you will find a high bandwidth SLI bridge, 4 SATA cables, 2 of which have 90-degree connections. You also get some standoffs and the usual metal MSI badge that you can go ahead and stick wherever you wish. If we move this box aside, underneath you will find all of your usual leaflets, driver CD, warranty info and SATA labels that definitely may come in handy. Okay, so the box that I just removed is pretty cool. Inside here you will find some replacement parts for the motherboard, and these come in silver and gold, and you can easily swap them out. MSI was actually kind enough to send me some custom parts in this awesome wooden box that contain some more of these with the Beginner's Tech logo on them. Swapping all of the parts out is super easy, you just pull them off and click the new one into place. And this leaves plenty of scope for painting and customizing, which is always nice. So finally, let's take a look at the motherboard itself. As you can see, the minimalist design is absolutely lovely and it would fit into most builds without any trouble at all. The carbon look shielding with the silver accents is something that I am definitely a huge fan of, and it certainly looks great here. So being X299, this motherboard will support all the new Skylake and Kaby Lake X processors, and today I will be testing this with the i5-7640X, which is a processor I definitely don't recommend using with X299 as features are very limited, but I am sure you have heard all the rants before. So memory wise, you can run up to a whopping 128GB of DDR4 RAM with speeds up to 4266MHz, and it can be run in either single, dual or quad channel, depending of course what processor you are utilising. It's also worth noting that the DIMM slots do have metal shielding on them, and if anything, it looks good. So moving on to the PCIe slots, again these are reinforced to help eliminate GPU sag, and you will be able to run multiple graphics cards in either Crossfire or SLI. So depending on what CPU you utilise will depend how your cards will run, but if you have some serious cash and buy the i9-7900X, which is a 44-lane CPU, you can run the top slot in ×16, followed by ×4, ×16 and lastly ×8. In between the PCIe slots you will find 2 M.2 slots, and these do have the thermal shields on them that look pretty nice, and they are able to host drives of many different sizes, so finding one to suit will be no issue at all, and if you are looking for blazing fast loading times you can easily run these in RAID. Other storage options offered are 8 SATA free 8GB per second ports, 2 of which are facing upwards on the board, and we also have one U.2 connector. So looking elsewhere on the board, on the bottom right you will find the familiar overclocking dial that we have seen many times before, and this allows you to dial in overclocks with ease, although I would strongly recommend not using it. Next to that you will find very small power and reset buttons that did take me a moment to find, but they are definitely ideal that they are here. So on the bottom, other than the usual front panel connectors, we also have an Rgb header for those who like to set up light shows, and you can use this with MSI's Mystic Light to have everything all synced up. When it comes to audio, the Gaming Carbon Pro utilises the Realtek ALC 1220 codec, offering high definition 7.1 channel surround audio, which pairs up with MSI's Nahimic software. Okay, so last of all, let's take a quick look at the rear I/O. Starting from the left, we have a clear CMOS and BIOS flashback button, which will come in very handy if anything goes wrong, a PS2 keyboard and mouse combo port, 3 USB 2.0 Type A ports, 2 Wi-Fi antenna connectors for the aerials that I showed you earlier, 4 USB 3.1 ports, a LAN RJ45 port, 2 USB 3.1 Gen 2 ports, one of them being Type A and the other Type C, 5 OFC audio jacks, and lastly an optical S PDIF out connector. So jumping into MSI's Click 5 BIOS, nothing has really changed on X299, but why would it when everything was working previously? In the top left you will find the game boost dial that does the same thing as the overclock dial on the motherboard. Basically you have 10 steps, which each step increases the CPU core and voltage, but again I would totally avoid utilise this and going down the more traditional overclocking route. Next to that you will find the XMP button for easily overclocking your RAM. And other features included are the ability to set up custom fan profiles and curves, and this is super easy to do, although I must admit I never utilise this. Jumping into easy mode on the BIOS is where most people will spend their time, as you will find a settings panel that will allow you to check system status, etc. And below that is the most important box, and that is of course the OC settings that will allow you to dial in a manual overclock. And below that again is the M flash that you can use for updating your BIOS, etc. So speaking of overclocks, I was able to push the 7640X to 5.1 GHz at 1.3 volts, which is pretty awesome, especially when temps didn't go above 77 degrees, utilising an H100i from Corsair, so it's safe to say that the Gaming Carbon Pro definitely does its job well here. So that pretty much rounds up the review of the Gaming Pro Carbon AC motherboard. This motherboard is definitely packed with plenty of features, and anyone looking to move to the X299 platform should definitely consider this, as it definitely won't let you down. So if you have any questions about the board or anything that I missed, etc., just ask down below and I will definitely get back to you. As always guys, thank you so much for tuning in, stay safe, be kind to each other, and I will catch you on the next one. Peace.